I think when you start out, you just need to be like okay with being a bit shit instead of thinking I'm not good enough. Like I think for us, like when we started, we sucked. Like we know a lot of people in the industry now who like message us and be like, oh, we're never going to be as good as you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, stop watching everyone else's work for starters. Like if you're on, year one, you're not going to, it's not going to happen overnight, but just be okay with that.
I always tell people when they're like, I want to be more creative. I'm like, become more interesting, and then you'll become more creative.
Right in my bag, why you gonna try to get mad? Everybody wanna keep up, don't you know I move too fast? I'ma zip right past, drip all on my swag.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Wedding Film School show. My name is Jared, and I'm here with Mr. Jason McCutcheon again, unfortunately.
Yes.
How's it going, Jay?
Unfortunately, we're both wearing, as the Canadians would say, toques.
Yeah, beanies.
But if you live around here, you know that we got this week, it's last week for you listening. We had like 30 inches of snow.
Yeah.
So it's cold.
So, an hour drive turned into, 2-hour drive for me today. But it's all good because we have very special guests on today. We're very excited.
Well, and those people, we're very cold weather. They don't have to worry about the cold weather because they're, as they say, down under.
Yeah, exactly. So today we have Andrew and Grace from Bottlebrush Films. How's it going, guys?
Hey.
Real good. It's nice and warm here.
Heck yeah. Are you guys still like on lockdown down there? What's the story?
No, we're pretty good now. We still got to wear masks inside here and there, but otherwise we're pretty sweet.
Yeah, we've got I don't know, it's big news every time we get like one single new case in a day, so we're doing all right.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier when you can be locked off by an island, for sure. We're still dealing with all these lunatics up here in the States.
We're very grateful.
When we had started doing the show, I knew one of the first guests I wanted to have on was you guys. So thank you guys for coming on today, because I think what you guys are doing is super inspirational. I think people have a lot to learn from how you guys make wedding films. And we always talk about Australia. It's just they think different down there.
We have a lot of talent down here. We're really lucky to be part of a really cool crew of filmmakers, especially down in Melbourne. There's some amazing people. Even Perth, Western Australia, like those guys are the most isolated city in the world, but they're some of the most creative people I've ever met. So it's a good little crew down here in Oz.
Yeah, here in the States, everyone, we always say like all the talent's in Texas right now, and it keeps on moving down to Texas. So we'll stay in New England because we like the competition to be sparse up here. I would never go down there.
Hey, so before we get moving, today's show is brought to you by The Music Bed. They used to be called The Music Bed. Do you remember that?
I thought they were still called The Music Bed.
No, it's Music Bed. Our personal favorite song licensing website. We got a little offer down in the description. If you're listening on podcast, great reason to go check out YouTube, because you click on that link and you can get 1 free month if you've never tried it. We think has the best offering, especially for wedding filmmakers. So go check it out. We love it. It's really great. But without further ado, we're going to subject you guys to something we call 3 questions. Are you guys ready to do it?
Yeah.
Born ready.
Yeah. 3 questions with Bottlebrush Films. Here we go.
Yeah, so question number 1, guys, it's always question number 1 is what is in your kit these days?
So I've literally just got my Sony a7S III, which I'm very excited about. We get to have a little play with that courtesy of Sony Australia. We shot a music video, our first ever music video recently on it, and it's a beast in terms of like the autofocus, the low light, run and gun. I think it's a perfect filmmaker's camera. I used the G Master 24-70 on a gimbal on that, on the RS2, which is awesome. I'm really excited about putting the focus motor on the zoom ring and doing some weird shit with that. So that's basically the camera kit. What else I've got? I use Benro travel tripods. We travel a lot for weddings, interstate Australia all the time, a lot of overseas weddings as well. So, having those fit inside my case is really important, and they're pretty good for the I think I've got the S4 heads on those.
About your lights. Tell me about your lights.
Oh, yeah. So we don't really light up our speeches too much. We do have like a few little lights. Like we've got the Lume Cubes. I bought these for a specific film we were doing. It was 2 girls eloping together. And I strapped 2 of these to a drone and had the drone sort of above them and just going straight up in the air, so that they were in the middle of a field at night, and the light sort of just faded as the drone went up and up and up, and they just sort of disappeared in the darkness. I also use these because they're They're waterproof. So I chucked one of these inside a bathtub for the music video we did and lit it from underneath inside the water. These little bangers, which everyone's got one of these little LED lights. Like, no, I don't even know what. Oh, it's called Rory.
Okay.
I think I saw it.
What the hell it is, man.
I think I saw it on an ad once. Like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, I've got one more light too.
Oh, he's got more.
This is the
He's very
my
excited.
new babies, the Nanlite Pavo tubes. We bought these specifically for the music video,
Yeah.
and they are amazing.
They
There's
are the
two
tits.
4-foot Pavo tubes in here, and I'm going to use these for all my weddings now.
Question number 2, guys. What's a recent film that you've shot that you're really proud of that you really are in love with?
I don't know if it's super recent, but we did one in Norway of this couple.
Yeah.
And
Ina
it was
and
all,
Philip.
yeah, Ina and Philip. It was all in Norwegian, so we had to do subtitles and translate it, and it was crazy.
Yeah, and Ina, the bride, is actually a wedding photographer herself. Those guys were living in Melbourne. We met them. They moved back to Norway. They got married. They invited us over. That was just, yeah, crazy good. We got to explore all the Norwegian fjords a couple of days after the wedding with them and did an extra shoot.
Yeah.
And yeah, just because how much we love those guys, it's a pretty special film to us. It's quite dark and moody as well.
Yeah, like the song we chose, Music Bed Song, Boom. It was like a really kind of dark song. I think the lyrics were almost about ghosts and death and things like that, but we kind of cut it in a way so that it didn't sound so depressing.
Yeah.
What about the film like really stood out in terms of, are there any signature sessions or anything that you shot there that really just sticks out to you?
I loved what you shot on the dance floor, actually. I know we had all this
yeah.
like beautiful scenery, but I loved they had a really cool first dance. I can't even remember what the style of dancing was, but they got really into it, and there were all these like flashing lights going off on the dance floor, and you covered it really beautifully.
Yeah, I shot a lot of it like deliberately way out of focus as well, and like
Yeah, so it's kind of like eerie. Like he did a lot of like out of focus dancing shots. They're kind of like almost two blurs moving amongst all these lights, and it kind of worked really well because the song was kind of eerie.
Cool. So the last question that we have for you guys is, what is the Lonely Hearts Film Club?
Wrong.
What is something that they're into?
Camp.
Camp. Guys, so the last question we have is, what is the Lonely Hearts Film Club? Oh, geez, sorry. The last question we have for you is, what is the Lonely Hearts Film Club? Camp. You say it.
All right. The last question we got for you guys is, what is the Lonely Hearts Film Camp?
So it's we had it this time last year. The Lonely Hearts Film Camp was the first one we'd ever done. There's lots and lots of awesome like workshops and getaways and retreats for wedding photographers in Australia, but nothing for wedding filmmakers. And we kind of got sick of waiting for one to pop up, so we just decided to make one ourselves.
Yeah. Basically, it's what was it, 5 days?
Yeah, 4 nights. Everyone's like living together, learning together,
4 nights,
socializing.
5 days. Just we had about nearly 8 speakers.
Yeah, from not only Australia but around the world. Like we had Matt Johnson come out, we had Remy from Maru Films come from Amsterdam, Nat from Auburn Hour, Mel from Till Death, the Humdrum Films boys from Melbourne. We had Jason from Wedding Film School as one of our speakers. Yeah, we had some amazing people. And it was just awesome. Like this is the sort of event that we would want to go to ourselves. So we just invited all the people we wanted to learn from. We spoke as well, but it was just such a good community event. And we're going to run it again in September this year. It's in the middle of the bush in Australia, like 2 hours from Sydney.
How do people sign up?
Go to the website, lonelyheartsfilmcamp.co or Lonely Hearts Film Camp on Instagram. You can check out all the highlights from last year and our camp recap film that Grace edited, which is, lots of fun.
It's random, but it's good.
But hopefully this summer, if things clear up, we would love to be down there. So we'll play it by ear.
September 26 to 30, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. And are those on sale right now, guys?
No,
not yet.
We're gonna release some early bird tickets before we start announcing the lineup.
Cool.
And then once those are sold out, we'll start announcing the lineup day by day.
Yeah.
Great.
Stay
So
tuned.
where do people connect with so they can actually be the first to know when all this is coming out? Where do they follow you guys?
Follow us on Instagram because we vlog it on there. We go live on the Lonely Hearts page, and then the website has a pop-up for a mailing list, so you can sign up there as well.
Go for it. Go do it. I promise you, invest in yourself, invest in your business, get around creative people. You will become more creative magically. It's just how it works. So go for it.
Look, I'm just gonna be completely honest with you. Can we be a little bit transparent here? I'm gonna tell you one of my deepest, darkest secrets. I actually really don't enjoy editing that much. If you were to give me the option between shooting and editing, I would pick shooting 11 times out of 10. And if you've been editing and doing video production for any length of time, you know that dread in your heart as you know wedding after wedding after wedding keeps on mounting up, piling up on your backlog. It really sucks. I hate it, and I'm sure you do too. So what can you do about it? You can, of course, ignore it. It's not gonna go away. You can hire a video editor to work on staff. Maybe it costs you 50 to 60 grand plus taxes. Or you can simply reach out to our friends at No Backlog. They make it super easy to knock out edits while you focus on other more important things like growing your business and making more money. And that's what it's all about, right? Save time and money by working with a professional, reliable, and affordable video editing partner. And get your life back today. You can spend more time with your kids, with your spouse, with your important other person, or you can simply just play more video games. I don't care. This is a no judgment zone, man. So make sure you're visiting nobacklog.com and get started today.
All right, guys, so we're back. We're really excited about having this conversation with you guys. Today, we're going to be talking about kind of thinking outside of the box as a wedding filmmaker. We already kind of talked a little bit about like you guys thinking out of the box, just even with how you use the LumaCube, right? That was crazy. Yeah. So I think just we're talking about how to think out of the box, and we want to I want to dig a little bit into how you guys think, and then also how other people can start to think a little differently about how they make their own wedding films. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Sure.
So give me a little insight, because it's clear to me you guys are artists. I'm assuming you have other artistic pursuits that you guys are interested in besides just wedding filmmaking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
A little known fact about Grace is she's actually like a really talented musician. So she sings, she writes songs, she plays piano.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like that comes through, because what I can see in your films is it's coming from a very true place. It's coming from a place of where you guys are creating something that's authentic. So tell me a little bit about how you arrived at wedding films, because you probably could have went a lot of different directions.
Yeah, I think like when we were both studying film at the time, so that's how we met, studying uni, whatever. But I think because we were just like fresh to the industry of film in general, we kind of just fell into it because Andrew had friends that were getting married, and we're like, here's a great opportunity to get some practice in with the camera. So it kind of just snowballed from there, really. I think it just ended up in the wedding world.
We both have done other things. Like I've directed live TV, and Grace worked at an international ad agency for a year as an editor as well. I think those experiences were like super valuable, and working on film sets a lot, like early days.
Yeah.
But we kind of just found out like weddings are really unique in that any other filmmaking form, like whether it be short films, commercial content, music videos, like there's so many other stakeholders that will have their say and want to have their say. Whereas weddings is so unique in that you get to basically do what you want and your client's going to be happy with it. And that's,
most of the time.
Yeah. That's what weddings are one of the only places where you can get that full creative control. And I think we take that for granted a lot.
So yeah, it's definitely something I noticed about you guys' work is just like you get full buy-in from your clients. Like every film that I've seen from you guys, it's just like you get people like one of the film that we saw in Vegas, they were in the shower together, and like you have to get them on board with your complete vision in order to be able to do that. How do you guys get clients like that to get on board with whatever you guys are throwing their way?
Oh, I think it's a slow burn. Like it's because we've built up our brand in that way over the years. Like we're kind of known for having really like out there content and, really wild shit. So people come to us already assuming that's what's going to happen. So it just makes it easier anyway. So now when we say, hey, we've got this really cool idea, everyone's like, yep, let's do it.
Yeah, I think what Grace does with our social media is really important as well. Like we don't really hide anything about ourselves. Like there's been Instagram stories where she's filmed me dancing around in my jocks, nothing but my jocks in the lounge room. You know what I mean?
Which happens often.
Yeah. And I think like if you're willing to be that giving of yourself, I think that helps establish that expectation for your clients as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. People always like when we get inquiries and stuff, they're like, oh, you guys are so funny. And we love that you're always doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like as if they already know us based on our social media and our work. So it's like they already have a relationship with us before we've even filmed them or met them.
Yeah, which is really important. And when we have client meetings, like people are like, blown away when I say we don't talk about logistics. We don't even talk about what time I'm going to start filming on the day. We just talk shit. It's just an exercise in getting to know them, because if they like you and they trust you, then you're basically going to be able to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
We, you know, it makes me think about that first film you guys felt like you got to do whatever you wanted, right? Like when you think about like everyone's, I'm assuming you did this too. This is what we did. The first couple wedding films, you're just like trying to not screw up.
Yeah.
And you're just like or you're copying someone or something, right? You're just kind of showing up. But I think there comes a moment as an artist where you're like, this is what I exactly want to make. So tell me a little bit about like that moment, that aha moment where you were like, I'm going to do something really different on this wedding.
Yeah. I reckon it was, I don't know if you agree with this one. When I was working ad agency, I was like a junior editor there, and they I didn't have any time to edit my wedding films, and we were basically full time by then. So I'd like come in at 5 a.m., edit a wedding film, do my full shift, and then after work I'd edit a wedding film. And I think it was there we did one, and we finally started using like speeches, which I know is probably really basic, but I think we made a film for the first time with the agency with speeches through it. Yeah. And there's like a producer at the agency who was like, you should do this. And we're like, all right. And we just had a few drinks and started doing some shit. And it was really fun. And I realized, I'm like, what have we been doing for 2 years? Like, we need to get this shit way nicer. It's
super freeing once you realize that you can do whatever you want and the sky's not going to fall down. Like, I think everybody has that mentality when they start out. Like, I can't miss anything. And for me, it just comes down to mindset. Like, when I let go of the FOMO and started just saying to clients, you know, if you want someone that's going to capture absolutely everything, it's not going to be us. Like, if you want someone to put a camera on a tripod, press record, and come back 2 hours later, you can find people that'll do that. But what I want to do is creative, and I guarantee that I'm going to miss certain things, but it's because I want to get creative shots and be creative. And I tell people that all the time. They're like, but what? But like, it doesn't matter. As long as you and the client are on the same page and you have the same expectations, that's all that matters.
That's awesome. I look at you guys' work and I'm just like, they do something different every single film. It's never like, this is the wedding. You know, when we make a wedding film, that people know that when they hire us, it's like, we're going to show up, we're going to do the getting ready, we're going to do the first dance, we're going to do like all these things, you know, in a row. I love about you guys' work that it's just like off the wall. Like, you think you know Bottlebrush films, we're going to show you Bottlebrush films, like something completely different in the next piece of work that we do. So my question for you guys is, you know, if creativity can kind of come from anywhere, do you find that your inspiration comes from the couple oftentimes, or is it just coming from you guys and you're like, I want to do this crazy thing and I'm going to just wait for the right couple to come along for that? What does that process look like for you guys?
I don't think we've ever like pre-planned an idea and then waited for the right couple, because I feel like that's when you get a shit film. Like, it's better if you work towards them, like what their personality is. So like it's very much based off their personality. And we have built a brand that we now attract really interesting people. So we get to do crazy shit with our films. But I think a lot of it for us is, or for me anyway, it's just based off music, like going through tracks and finding like not ever just using the same kind of music, like really working hard to change it up. Like, that's where a lot of my time goes in the edit, like setting up the music and, you know, the speeches and music. I feel like that's just that's your turning point.
Yeah, I think the strength of what Grace does is that she shows off people, you know, warts and all, like the good, the bad, and everything in between, and doesn't try and hide or manipulate things to look a certain way. Because I think a lot of people get caught up in like, oh, I don't have this or I don't have that. Or I see on forums all the time, oh, they didn't do a reading, or the audio wasn't good for the reading. I'm like, we don't ever have readings here in Australia. There's other things, like it's mindset. It's what do you have, not what you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Grace is great at celebrating what does come at the wedding. Like, there was Talia and DJ's wedding. This was like a dancer and a drummer, and that would not have fit like any template. But what Grace did with it was use the natural audio of the bands playing and all their friends playing at the ceremony and all that sort of stuff. And just like these moments that you couldn't have conceived were going to happen, like their first dance.
Yeah.
And just like really shone a light on that and showed that off.
Yeah.
Walk me through like the process. Like, someone reaches out and is like, hey, we have this wedding, we're going to do it in, you know, Sweden, Switzerland, wherever. And they're kind of pitching you guys on an idea. Walk me through that process of like how you get to know the kind of piece that you're going to make. Does it start with just like, a consultation, and then you're like, yeah, we can probably go this way. Could you guys like tell me what that kind of looks like? What's the initiation looks like first steps?
So I probably spend way too much time on emails. So one of the guys, there was a wedding that we did in New Zealand, and they did the Indian traditional ceremonies in Auckland the first weekend, and the second weekend was down in the South Island where they did their own, with a celebrant ceremony. And that guy, Aaron, the groom, he and I had about, I think, 56 emails back and forth, just like talking shit, talking about The Walking Dead, talking about his photography because he's a photographer, talking about how they met, what they were doing, what the travels were. Like, I put a lot of time and effort into like getting to know couples. I just like meeting new people. And so that's sort of something that's natural for me. But I think that all helps, like consciously and even subconsciously. It sort of influences the way you approach, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys feel like
What you do.
do you guys feel like you don't know what you're gonna make till you start filming the wedding?
I think we don't know what we're going to make until we get to the wedding. I mean, to the edit, the edit as well. Like we do a lot of, we experiment. Andrew loves experimenting with the shoot. So he likes to kind of change it up as much as he can and just throw me stuff. It's like, hey, I tried this with the light, or I tried this different style of shooting or whatever. And I get to the edit and I'm like, let's see what we can do here.
Sometimes Grace is like, that's awesome. Sometimes she's like, that's shit. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
So this leads me to most of our audience is probably, they're probably new. They're getting started as wedding filmmakers. And so like for them, like, we were talking before this thing got started and like, how do we accomplish a drag shutter look? And what if we did this? And what if, like your camera really well, your gear really well, how to post, like you're a musician, there's all these skills. How does someone who hasn't built up a library, a vocabulary of skills, start to learn to express themselves as they're kind of getting their identity down as artists?
I mean, I don't know. I think when you start out, you just need to be like okay with being a bit shit. But actually, instead of thinking I'm not good enough, like I think for us, like when we started, we sucked. Like I didn't know how to edit at all. Everything we did was just basically poo. But like we thought it was so good. Like we thought we were the best. I was like, oh my God, I'm an amazing editor. Like I am just the best in the industry already. And I really was not. But I feel like it's kind of nice to be a little overconfident, because then you're not so down on yourself. Like we know a lot of people in the industry now who like message us and be like, oh, we're never going to be as good as you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, stop watching everyone else's work for starters. You can't expect to be where we are. This has been 10 years in the making. Yeah. If you're on, year one, you're not it's not going to happen overnight, but just be okay with that. Like that's part of the fun, like learning all that stuff.
Yeah. Yep. And they show us like a film of like 2 years in. I'm like, man,
you are so
that
good.
Shit's all over what we were making 2 years in. Like that's way better than and you'll probably be better than us one day.
Yeah.
I think like learning to be like new, Jared, like I look back on our work when we first started, and there's some things I like about our first year better than our third year, because we didn't know what we were doing. And so we would just be like, do whatever. Like
ignorance is bliss. Like sometimes you get the best stuff because you're so confident, you just don't know.
I will say like it's nice to kind of get in a groove. So I'm never a person who's like telling people like you got to constantly reinvent yourself. I think that's a tedious self-flagellating process where you're just beating yourself up. But I do think like trying new stuff ultimately, like you kind of hit on it, which is like, it's good to learn, it's good to be inspired, but the comparison game that people get themselves into, it's kind of paralyzing. Because like,
it really is.
Alex Douglas went to film school.
Yeah.
Like he didn't just start shooting weddings. Like he's an expert filmmaker.
Yeah.
One of the first workshops he ever went to was here in Australia.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, Grace or Andrew, when you said Grace was a awesome musician, I was like, of course she is, because we talked about
really not.
We talked about it a couple weeks ago with Henry, and Henry's a musician as well, and I'm like, of course he is. It's like there always seems to be like this common theme of like the people that are great artists aren't just filmmakers. Like the filmmaking is like the tool and is like the output, but the artist is inside, right? The artist is always like trying to develop themselves and be like, I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm interested in this because of my interest in, you know, whatever it might be. You have other interests outside of just gear. And I always tell people when they're like, I want to be more creative, I'm like, become more interesting, and then you'll become more creative, first and foremost. Like, and that's it. I love that saying. Chris Orwig, he's a photographer, and that's in one of his books. And I think that is like probably the one thing that's always stood by my like repertoire of like trying to just replay that in my mind. Like, become interesting.
Yeah.
Being creative, you know, in Genesis, God creates the heavens and the earth, right? And he forms it and he makes it. And like, that's creating. Like you're making a thing. And so like, what do you want to make today? Like if you're creative, you're just going to make something. You're going to make a business. You're going to make a song. You're going to make a painting. You're going to make a wedding. Like, and I think like a lot of wedding creatives are not creative because they're not that interested in making stuff. They're
that's really key, isn't it?
Yeah, they want to like have a unique looking film, maybe, but they don't want to be creative. And so like, and this is why we always say like, hey, you can create a great brand, you can create you can create great systems. Like we're doing 120 weddings a year. We had to create those systems. We're processing 600 leads a year. Yeah. You know, we had to create that. We had to create a product. Our average film we're doing in 10 to 12 hours. Edit.
Yeah.
Like I was like, we had to create that process. We had to create the process of doing our automatic backups every night. And whether you're having to create songs, you're having to create whatever it is you're creating to create these unique films. Either way, it doesn't matter the path you choose. Like you're gonna hit a point in your career where you have to think outside the box and actually be creative. And that will be that'll be the make or break it. Whether you become like some luxury boutique film or you decide to launch a studio, they're all great, but you're gonna have to be creative. And it's not just the people who are like shooting Super 8 weddings.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I get in almost like a really shitty mood when I feel like I'm not creating, like if I'm stagnant, like, which I think with the weddings in the last couple of years, even though I feel like we've released some of our best work, I feel like it's starting to get like easy and repetitive. So I'm like, this year I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a music video. I'm going to do a doco and put it into a festival. And I've got this like bucket list. Like I want to try to produce my own song, which could be terrible, but like and then that stuff helps your wedding stuff become better anyway, because you are creating outside of your industry. And when you come back to your weddings, you've got all these new ideas and everything just snowballs a little bit.
Yeah, it's easy to get comfortable. You got to like actively seek out experiences where you get outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, I feel like that's so important because like even camp, we had to give a talk and I was like low key like terrified of public speaking.
I've never seen him more scared in my life.
I was like having a meltdown. I was like 2 beers down and I'm like, this is going to be so bad. But then I was so scared. I don't know why I said yes to it if I was so terrified leading up to it. I should have just said, no, you do it or something. But I was like, no, challenge yourself, conquer a fear, you'll feel good after. And I did. Now I feel great. And I'm like, there you go. Bucket list item, and I feel like I can do it anytime now. It's like cool conquering a fear as an adult.
And that was about as far out of our comfort zone as it gets. So
yeah,
it's always a good thing being a little bit uncomfortable.
It is.
Would you say that's one of the keys to getting out of as a wedding filmmaker, you know, especially when you're new, like I said, you usually are just kind of white knuckling it. I feel like I don't remember having a lot of conscious thoughts when I was originally shooting weddings. And so if you're moving, I think like if that's where you're at, you don't need to worry about this so much. But I think once you're moving to that place, I always say like once you're getting bored, you're getting good. And so one of the places where you can know you're ready to start pushing another level. And I think, you know, whatever, if you want to do on your first wedding and shoot a crazy thing, okay, try. But I think if you're getting bored and you're ready, what would you tell somebody who's like, okay, what is the number one tip to think outside the box as a wedding filmmaker? Like how can I approach my wedding differently?
I was going to say what you said at camp, and that's to seek inspiration outside of weddings.
Yeah.
Like watch Vimeo staff picks, watch music videos. Like I feel like the wedding filmmaking industry, like watching Grace and her timing and her ability to cut to a beat and then subvert a pattern as well. Like so few people actually cut to the music. It's just an accompaniment to whatever's happening. But yeah, seek inspiration outside of wedding world, because as far as wedding filmmaking has come in the last 10 years, there's still a long way to go. And the guys that are in the feature film world are so far advanced, and those are the guys that you need to be looking to for inspiration.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there and have a look at some other content, I guess. Like, I know it's like you don't want to be a copycat, but like, it's inspiration more than anything. It's just finding stuff that actually, is different from what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah. And focus on what you can do, not what you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good too.
Yeah.
One of the keys, I think, is like, can you take something that you're already good at to another level? Is like,
how do you kick it up a notch?
how do you kick it up? If you're like, oh, I remember shooting this handheld dance floor footage and I loved it. How do I do more of that? How do I do it better?
Yeah.
How do I do it crazier? How do I do it more luxurious or more intimate? Like, whatever you are, like, so this is going to lead into my next question, which is whatever you are, you amplify it to 10, and that's branding. Right?
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
Like if you're like whatever you are good at, like that's your brand. That's how you know what direction to go. And so like talk a little bit about that, because I know for us, for our brand, as we call ourselves a brand more than we call ourselves filmmakers. We're like, we run a brand, right? And for our brand, we have a very certain voice, right, Jared? We attract a certain clientele. Most of our clients, I would say, are reserved doctors and lawyers. And, and they show up and they pay their bills and they're awesome to work with and they don't cause a lot of problems and it's great.
The creative process is certainly different. Where I think at this point we have a good sized team now. I just shot a text out to 10 of our filmmakers and I was like, hey, we need to learn this new camera. And so we have 10 people that are all getting together and we're going to learn this new camera together. And when we create now, it's less of like Jared from the top telling everyone what to do and where to position cameras, all this stuff. And now it's more like, all right, what works best for everyone? What can everyone do together? It's just a way
What's the brand?
different
like
process.
The voice of our brand is what are we? It's not what do I want to make.
And it's almost like it's hard as a creative because I have to be like, I can be up here. I can film this wedding, but my newest shooter can only film this wedding. So therefore, where can I bring him up and where do I have to rein myself back? It's like, that's a tough product, I think, for a lot of creatives to
It's a fun challenge, though. It is a fun challenge. And ultimately, like, communicating our brand is how we've been able to build a business. More so, I think our films are good. I don't know that any creatives have seen our films and like us, but our clients do.
That's what matters, man. That's all that matters.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so for you guys, that's ultimately true as well, right? You're not creating branding for wedding creatives. You're creating branding for clients. So tell me a little bit about how have you guys built such a strong, unique brand? And how can other people maybe take some tips from it?
Hire someone to do your branding for starters. Like, we all DIY in this industry, don't we? And we were just like, I've wanted to rebrand for so long. I was like, Angela, let's just do it. Let's pay the money. Let's get it done. So we just hired a chick by Lulu. Check her out. I don't know. Where do we start with that?
I think you just base it off I don't know. We just saw the branding process as a creative pursuit, just like making a film, and we wanted just a chance to like push some boundaries and not do just the usual floral and light and bright sort of stuff.
Yeah, we told her no beige, no light and bright, no florals, none of that. No deer antlers. There's a few of those going around. But I think we went into it like in terms of the website build and the logo and the branding, basically wanting to scare off a good chunk of the wedding world in terms of couples. Like we only wanted a very niche, very creative, out there couple. So the website was really built to be quite random and weird and all over the shop so that it really would only attract really out there people, which it does its job well.
And we're at a point in our career where we're only taking 15 weddings a year now. And so we don't mind if we make it a little bit harder, and the ones that actually really want to work with us will find their way through to the contact form.
Yeah,
I love that. Scare off as many people as you possibly can. I love that.
It's weird. Our branding chick was like the same. She said it was like the most unique website she's made because like the point of it really wasn't for bookings. It was really to like elevate ourselves in the industry and to attract. I mean, we weren't looking to book more. We already booked out.
Yeah.
It was really just to kind of cement ourselves creatively.
There's enough weirdness and like personality in our website and our branding that people will either love it or hate it, and the ones that love it will contact us.
Yeah.
I think branding is what do people say about you when you're not around? That's really what branding is. And ultimately it's like you are communicating like a vision to someone. You're speaking without words almost. It's the collection of even how things are organized. And like when we're trying to sell our couples, we're trying to make it, they're busy people. And so I think, sorry, I'm going to go on a branding tangent, but I always tell someone, who's your audience? How do they want to be spoken to? That's how you do it. It's like our audience, busy people, don't have a lot of time to waste. They want to see your work really quick, see the prices, fill out the form. Right? That right there is like almost as much of a pursuit of like when you're creating your product at the beginning of your career is like figuring out who your people are.
Yeah.
Who are my people? And
100%.
like, who can I win over? Like when I am with these people, they're charmed by me and these people are repelled by me.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
but it's like, they used to always talk about it at the old Hustle and Flow workshops. They would always talk about attracting and repelling. So you need to, your branding has to actively attract and repel. And most people only think about attracting. And so they usually create this brand that's very, very, very generic, boring, and unfocused. But good branding will focus you down. It will attract the customer you want and will repel the customer you don't want. And of course, you got to have the chops. You got to be really freaking good if you want to repel most people, which you guys happen to be. So,
I wouldn't recommend that kind of thing if you're starting out. Like you don't want to go about your website trying to repel most people. Like you want to get your bookings. You just want to start getting your work going. Yeah. So it's funny because I think our branding chick said a few people have kind of asked us similar stuff to what we have in terms of our brand and website. And she's had to explain to them like that will probably bust your business because you guys aren't at that stage yet where you can get away with that. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Like it's particular to everyone. Like your brand's very unique to you. As you said, it is you. So
I love that.
And it takes like years to have that level of insight about what you just talked about. Like who is my client? What are their needs? You know, are they time poor? Are they creative? Are they business people? And that all influences all of your copy and your coloring and everything that makes up your branding.
Andrew's not allowed to do our social media or our copy because he's really cheesy and formal. And when I talk, like we talk in a way, like our copy is very specific. Like it's, you know, it's a lot of swearing. It's very crass. It's very out there. It's very like off the cuff.
Yeah.
And that's how we want our branding to be. Like it's, you know, playing up that Aussie side almost.
Yeah. Totally.
So you're not allowed to speak. You just
No, I love that. It was like, well, and I will say this, our brand systematically is probably me. Voice, it's Jared.
So you go for both.
I don't talk to clients ever.
Like, well, Andrew actually does most of the talking to our clients, which is funny. Like, whereas I do most of the copy, you do all the emailing. I hate emailing. I'll do like the, you know, once we've filmed the wedding, I'll talk to them heaps after about the edit and music and things like that.
You do all the socials.
But then on socials, I'll talk to them randomly. I don't know. It's just a bit of both.
It seems to work. I'd like to claim that it was like we sat down one day and went, okay, this is your role, this is mine. It's like, we just sort of winged it for like 7 years and eventually.
I like that.
I would say actually that's one thing, forward planning. If you're just starting out, do lots of forward planning. We did none and it bit us in the ass.
Yeah, for sure.
Do tell.
Oh man, we didn't know what we were doing when we started. Hey, like we were really just like, we didn't realize we owned a bloody business for a long time. Like, you know, financially we should have been charging more for years before we did, you know. Branding, we only just got our shit together in the last couple of years. So if you could forward plan a little, I would recommend it.
It's taken us a long time to become business owners and get our work-life balance in check. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Still working on that.
Isn't that interesting though? Like, I was telling Jared the other day, we did this episode that comes out today. We were talking about mistakes, and I was like, I don't think I would not do any of those mistakes though, like because
interesting.
It's like they're formative, right? And like I don't think there's any shortcuts around being terrible.
That's
true.
That should be a bumper sticker.
That's the best way to get good is just be bad for like often and don't quit.
No, true. Yeah, I mean, because I feel like most small businesses fail in the first like couple of years. I feel like that's more. Sometimes a lot of people who just like if they get so much rejection or things don't work out, they'll throw in the towel. Whereas like, I guess you just need to push through it and keep going. Go through the shit until you get better.
And it helps that when you're inspired, you're not doing it for the money. You'll
Yeah,
figure out later you
100%.
need money.
Yeah, that was us. Like, should we get paid for this?
Yeah, like you just, I mean, I was telling Jared, the first 3 years we ran our business, we maybe took home 10 grand
Yeah,
out of our business.
probably the same.
We made like 240.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit.
We were just
So good.
we were just like buying gear, buying market. Like we didn't have any concept of what we were doing or how we were just like having fun and we just had a good time.
Same.
Yeah, and I think like I will say, I guess if I was to give a tip on thinking outside the box is like go the direction of what's fun to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'll be honest. The first wedding film that we edited, I hadn't really edited at all. Like Jay, this is funny. Jay was my media teacher in high school, and I think I went away to film school for a couple of years and kind of was around editing, but I mostly did like DP work. So it was just like put a camera in my hand. I did photography, and right before I left film school, I started getting into editing like a little bit here and there. And I just put together stuff that was fun to like fun songs. And then I saw some of the work that Still Motion had done and then made my first wedding film. And it was just like, this is just fun. Like, again, it was like a Fantagram song. It was just like, get into it. We went that direction and it was like, all right, this is cool. Like I actually enjoy doing this. It doesn't even feel like work really, right?
Yeah. Isn't that where inspiration is though? It's like when you can start to just Did you guys watch that movie Soul, the new Disney movie that came out, the piano guy?
Yes, I loved it.
It was so beautiful. And
so good.
And I just remember thinking like as an artist, I'm a musician and like I can so relate with getting in the zone.
Yeah, same.
Right? And it's like thinking outside the box is like, okay, watch Matt Johnson's video, watch all these how-to videos, watch the wedding film school content, right? And then ignore it. Like,
Yeah, a little bit.
it's like, don't be crippled. Like, oh, like I'll hear people be like, oh, I can't break the 180-degree rule on my shutter speed. And I'm like, just
do it.
Just look good on your camera.
Yeah.
Like, and like,
I think this talk is so good for most wedding videographers because we're so caught up in the gear, right? So caught up in just like Jay said, the 180-degree rule, making sure that, your cameras are in the right position, make sure that you're rolling audio and that sounds good. Like kind of just basics that it's like, we're so busy catching up on and just making sure that, the boxes are checked that we can't even pull ourselves. There's too much stuff going on that we can't even pull ourselves into the creative space and thinking out of the box and kind of creating our own kind of voice, right?
I always just think like gear to me is like, obviously you need to know your gear back to front, but I don't think it's like the most important thing by a long stretch. Like I think if you're not a good storyteller, all the gear in the world won't save you either. So it's great to get into that side of things, but like really what are you trying to do with it? Like you could have a really shitty camera, but you could be like a great storyteller and still put together something really beautiful. Even if it is a bit rough and raw, it's still going to like resonate with somebody. I just think like we do get really hooked up on gear with this kind of world.
I love what our buddy Benj, again, not to bring him up again. We should
look at his work. He pretty much invented inventor elopement photography.
We should pretty much be a
Sweet,
sponsor of his podcast because of how much we talk about him. But I like when he talks about gear, he talks about cameras. He's like, I pretty much want to pick like the crappiest camera so it like fights me a little bit, and you're like wrestling to try to create something that's creative and different. It's like, I feel like as artists, that's how you should feel. You should feel like I'm going to wrestle with this tool because it makes you have to be invested and look at things completely out of the box.
Limitations are great for inspiring creativity. Like if you've I deliberately sometimes go, I'm going to use one lens the opposite of what I would use for a whole wedding, like for the morning and the getting ready and everything, just to like push myself outside of my comfort zone and go, okay, if all I've got is the 24 mil, how am I going to do close-ups? Am I going to like try and fight it, or am I going to like go with it and like see some shots that I normally would never think to get? You know what I mean? I think that's important.
Yeah, and just I feel like your strength is changing things up with like the gear and like with the way you film, because like Andrew's really hard on himself. Like we don't have like a super cinematic style. I think we're like a bit different to everyone else in how you film. But I feel like that's like your strength. Like you're not too hooked on things looking or being a certain way. Like you're able to adapt on a wedding day to what's happening and
totally
challenge yourself a bit. Yeah.
getting those moments more so than the perfect frames that I'm gonna like lose my mind about and get like my ego stroked by. It's like the stuff that's really important to people are the moments, and I think like anticipating things like that are going to happen on a wedding day is like always good fun.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I mean, it's super challenging to me because as someone who's like running teams and like going back and just like, hey, make sure that everything is, the boxes are checked. Like I just try to make things easier, probably in most cases. And I think most filmmakers just fall into that category. It's like, I want a piece of gear that makes my job easier, right?
Easy is where the money is.
Yeah. But you have to kind of decide at some point, like, what way am I going to go? Am I going to make it easier, or am I going to just have this like, creative penance of just like, I'm going to punish myself and try to be creative.
So I don't think it's one way or the other. And I will say it this way. I think you need to embrace things that are easy for you in order to you to have the courage to do things that are hard for you. Like not everything can be hard. Like, you can't make a product that way. We're running a business. Like, you need to do things that you naturally would do and lean into. While at the same time, I think finding the areas, and usually I find that those are the keys, like something you're good at is a good opportunity to try something hard. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we're good at lighting. We've done a lot of commercial work. We're good at that. So whenever we get the opportunity to do a crazy light setup at a wedding, we're gonna do that. Especially when we're doing Huxley film, I'm gonna like get a room in the hotel, get them to turn all the lights off, move all the furniture out, set up a bunch of lights, and bring the couple in for 30 minutes.
Awesome.
Like that's what we can do. I can't do that at every wedding.
Yeah.
Nah.
But every once in a while, and it's I think like looking for those opportunities. If you're thinking, how do I get out of the box? I'm in a rut. It's like, okay, what are you good at that you can push to the next level? And what are you bad at that if you just put some effort in, you could improve? I think you can clearly start to find, like, your work will transform in like 2 weddings, I think.
I have a question for you guys. It probably has to do with your kind of creative process. Is how often do you guys go into a shoot kind of being like, I want to do this, this, and this, and how much of it is just on site, just kind of riffing?
Ooh. Well, from a shooting perspective, like there's always new things that I want to try at weddings, but sometimes I'll get there and be like, okay, this isn't the wedding to do it. This is like, it's not the right vibe, not the right location. Like, I think if you premeditate things too much, that also kills creativity. It's good to have things in mind that you want to try new, but it's about like not forcing a wedding to be the right time, like a specific wedding to be the right time to try that. Like sometimes you got to bide your time a little bit and go, okay, when the opportunity arises and it's the right kind of wedding, right kind of couple, I'm going to try this. I'm just waiting for that chance, because I think if you try and, force a square peg to fit a round hole, you're just going to do yourself a disservice. You're going to do your couple a disservice. So from a shooting perspective, I don't know if that answers the question. What about editing?
Oh, God.
You don't really premeditate anything.
I don't think I premeditate anything for editing. It's more down to like the speeches and what the vibe of the wedding day is. Like, it's not like we have a shot list or anything, so it's no script, obviously, as you know.
It's so hard.
A lot of it's riffing. A lot of it is just going with the flow.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys where the loom cubes on the drone came in. If that was a premeditated or something that you're like, throw them on.
Yeah, that whole shoot was actually a more pre-production than we've ever done for a wedding, because it was an elopement and it was like a giveaway kind of thing, like a bunch of vendors. So we're like, well, we're going to go hard, and like we did like a really loose shot list and came up with a lot of concepts. So that was planned, and the loom cubes were planned. You were like, let's put them on a drone.
Yeah, and we used like that was just the sum of all these crazy ideas that I'd had over like however many years, and I was like, whoa, screw it, we're just gonna like get the right couple who are up for anything, and these guys were. And just be like, okay, we're just gonna drink all night and play with lighting setups and do some weird shit. Are you down for that? They're like, yep, let's do it. And like I wanted to like light people up from opposite sides. I wanted to use a projector as a light source. We did that. Even like putting one of these on your camera, and like it's like a hard direct light. It's a little bit soft, but there's an Aussie filmmaker, Mel from Till Death, that does it, and she shoots like super wide 24 mil with one of these on it, and you get some awesome reactions on the dance floor of people like looking at them because you got like a light right in their face.
I love her work.
And
she's amazing. Good. She's so good.
I get asked so many times from brides, they're like, do you have lights on your cameras? And I was like, no, not really. And I just have to like tell them, you know, we try not to be in there. I just wish we could just put lights in people's faces sometimes. And just create. I mean, it's just a different, I mean, like you said, branding, clientele. I mean, it's just about finding the right people for you.
It's cultural too. Aussies get pretty loose on the dance floor.
Yeah.
They don't mind. Like the quietest people at the ceremony are always the loudest ones on the dance floor.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah.
So tell me, what's next for Bottlebrush Films? What do you guys? What's simmering for you guys as wedding filmmakers?
Ooh, I don't know. In terms of weddings, I think we're almost kind of trying to cap the weddings and then try to get into work outside of weddings. Like I'm really keen to kind of try some new stuff. So I think it'll just be mainly film camp, music videos, some documentaries.
A lot of film camp. We're still waiting. Like we've obviously rescheduled that to end of September, and we're hoping like hell that it's going to be all sweet with COVID, but. And we're sort of focusing. Oh, actually, the main one. We just bought a van.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. We're useless. We're doing Australia for a year, starting April, in a van. So we're going to stop renting and move into a van and do a whole.
Wow.
Yeah, we're getting an edit station built into it.
What?
We're working with an amazing carpenter who used to do wedding films, and he's the one building out the van for us. So
we've got like my mounted screens, my editing desk, so I can edit on the road. And
we love to travel, and we haven't been able to travel for like 18 months now. So this is our way of traveling and seeing as much of Australia as we can.
We can just do like jump from wedding to wedding. And
we got weddings all up and down the east coast of Australia and some in South Australia, and we're going to go to Western Australia for maybe 3 months over winter because we've got no weddings. So that's the big exciting thing on the horizon for us.
That's cool. Well, here's the great thing about that: you're going to become more interesting, and then you're going to become more creative.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Experience, man.
Yeah.
Hashtag van life. I'm super jealous.
Yeah.
That's like one of my life goals is to have like be able to go out on the road and do like docu kind of like YouTube-y stuff, like just go hit the road and like have an edit bay in the back. And like we talked about it, we're like, how can we do live streaming to buy a van and like just have an edit bay on the road? Like that's like dream life. Amazing. I'll be excited.
We're looking forward to it.
Well, guys, thank you for being on and inspiring us. I have been just loving you guys' work since, we were introduced to it last year. Hopefully, we'll be able to come down to Australia and go to the Lonely Hearts Film Camp coming up this summer, end of September. Guys, thank you so much for being on. This has been really fun.
Yeah.
Right back at you. Thanks heaps.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Why do you guys tell everybody where they can find you? What's the handles on Instagram?
It's all the same. It's Bottlebrush Films. Instagram. We're on TikTok. Get on it.
Oh yeah. You guys kill it on TikTok. TikTok. You guys are great.
That's what got us through lockdown.
It's entertaining. Our website's just bottlebrushfilms.com.au and lonelyheartsfilmcamp.co. Sorted.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you for watching the Wedding Film School show. Special thank you to Bottlebrush Films. Make sure that if you like this episode, you give us a little thumbs up. You give us a subscribe as well, and hit the bell so you know when the Wedding Film School show is broadcast on these YouTube airwaves.
And also, don't forget, we got Clubhouse on Thursday. We're going to do 8 p.m. Thursday. And if you
Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. And if you want to just ask Grace and Andrew any questions or just hang out with some cool Australians, then come hang out with us on Clubhouse. And definitely give us a follow. Jared Haas or Jason_McCutcheon. And we'll hang out on Clubhouse. It'll be fun.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Cool.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
I'ma get right in my bag. Why you gonna try to get mad? Everybody wanna keep up. Don't you know I move too fast? I'ma zip right past. Drip all on my swag.